Bum bum.
Bum bum.
Bum bum.
Ba-ba.
Bump, bump.
Boom, boom.
Welcome to Who Put This On, episode 150 or season 4, episode 25. We watch Shark Tank, season 11, episode 6. I'm Chris Lorenz.
Noah Singer.
This is James.
You can call me Maxter Wonderful.
I'm Harrison Hoffman.
Sharkabeth.
All right, well, big week this week.
The 150.
150, or at least close enough to 150 to call it 150.
It's the Mewtwo of podcasts.
Wouldn't it be the Mew?
Depends on who you're asking.
Oh. Can't believe we've this is 150 of these things.
Yeah, it's
It's been
there's
years.
been a lot of them.
Years at this point. We're deep. We're deep into a lot of garbage
You
TV.
could listen to 3 of these a week, a year.
You have a weird
And you
math
should.
scale.
That is, yes, accurate.
All right.
The true metric of success.
Yeah.
So we've mentioned Shark Tank very often.
Oh, yeah.
So we're finally going to do Shark Tank.
What's Shark
Praise
Tank?
be.
So Harrison, will you give us a description of Shark Tank?
Shark Tank, the critically acclaimed and multi-Emmy award-winning reality show that has reinvigorated entrepreneurship in America, returns this fall to ABC for its 10th season. The Sharks, tough, self-made, multi-millionaire and billionaire tycoons continue their search to invest in the best businesses and products that America has to offer. The Sharks will once again give people from all walks of life the chance to chase the American dream and potentially secure business deals that could make them millionaires. That's Shark Tank on ABC.
So it's Dragon's Den.
Yes.
So that was last season's
I'm pretty sure it's the same season over season.
yeah.
but
well, it
yes.
said 10th season, so it's
That's just the
we did
that's just the
11th
one that's
season.
on ABC.com. I don't know what to tell you.
In the same way
they
that
got to
we-
update their website.
In the same way that we are off by like one number, they're just off by one season.
Yeah, it's fine. So let's go a little bit about this episode, and then we can get into minutia about history, everyone's history of Shark Tank, and like. But let's get this over with. So we have
Good start.
We have six sharks, aka angel investors or investors in general. We got Mark, Damon. Oh, Damon's not in this episode.
No,
there
there's
were only
5
5.
sharks,
There are
Chris.
5.
There's
hold on.
no Damon.
Where I copied the names down from definitely is the wrong episode. So, Noah, can you go over who the 5 sharks
Yeah,
are there?
the 5 sharks. We have, of course, Mr. Mark Cuban.
Sure.
Sitting
Founder of Broadcast.com.
founder of Broadcast.com. That is already
we'll
true.
get into the minutia
And
of
owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Then next to him, we have his.
We have
name-
Lori.
No. Next
You
to
gotta
Mark
stop going out of order. It's
is
out of control.
Daniel Lubetsky. So Daniel is one of the guest sharks.
Okay.
He is the founder and CEO of Kind Bars or Kind Company. I don't know what they're actually called. Then next to him is Mr. Wonderful, who everyone should know, Kevin O'Leary. Next to Kevin is Lori. What's her last name?
Lori from
Miss QVC.
Miss QVC. Yeah, Lori. And then next to Lori is the guy that founded the security company. What's his name?
Robert.
Robert Herjavec. The security software company.
Okay.
So those are the 5 sharks on the show.
I want to take a little pause here. You said everybody should know Mr. Wonderful, but you gave us a full description of Mark Cuban, who I would say is probably more famous.
I agree.
Okay.
He's probably more famous.
Can we go over, if you didn't know who Mr. Wonderful was outside of Shark Tank, who is he?
Kevin O'Leary, he made most of his money actually on an education company. Kind of like Kaplan, like the SAT prep. It was something in that realm.
I thought he made a bunch of his money on toys or like Mattel or something like that. I'm not sure. Well, also he's like him along with Robert are from the Canadian version of this
Right,
Dragon's Den. So they're
Are they
basically
really?
just like
Yeah.
long time dudes investing in weird startups pitched to them on TV is kind of what their profession
Do you think
is at
they
this
make
point.
most of their money now from angel investing or TV show
Not
revenue?
neither. They have a bunch of stuff in an index fund somewhere, and that's that.
That's so they're just getting the dividend or like the growing of the index fund.
I think that is their main form of income.
Probably depends on the shark.
Sure.
Like Mark Cuban, that's not how he's making
Sure.
all his money.
Let me go back to what's Dragon's Den?
Dragon's Den is Shark Tank, but on Canada and
Okay.
before Shark Tank was a thing. I think
Okay.
it is the original form of this show.
Okay.
Oh.
So we've got the 8 investors. So now they go through subsequent product investors or pitchers come out with their like company and they ask for a certain amount of money.
Throwing
They have
curveballs.
They have some stupid fucking product. So we've got the first product is the measuring
but
shovel.
like the key thing, in case somebody out there that's listening to this somehow hasn't seen Shark Tank, somebody comes out, they pitch their company or their business or their product. The sharks will listen, ask questions, make a bid potentially for some stake or some amount of the company for in exchange of some amount of money, and that's the show.
Yep.
And
The contestants the people, the business owners can take or leave the offers or counter.
And as someone who's pitching, you basically have to ask for a particular amount of money, and then you have to have like a starting position on how much equity you're willing to give up for that money.
And
But
if you don't know what Shark Tank is and you're listening to this pod, who are you? Please tweet us at
Please
who put
tweet-
this on.
No, tweet at Mr. Noah Singer.
Yeah.
It is Noah Elsinger on Twitter.
Oh, Noah Elson.
Sneaking those L's in there.
Believe me, I lost Noah Singer to the Arizona computer science professor. There are 3 notable Noah Singers on the internet. There's a professional BMX racer, a professor, and me.
Is this an internet
This
corner
is
plug?
Definitely an internet corner plug for sure.
I'm actually. Let me take a little detour in the internet corner.
Nope.
Kevin O'Leary made his money selling an education software company to Mattel, and then Mattel fired him.
there we go.
Wow.
Boom.
Okay, so you had most
So
of the
he's
story
the
right.
Steve Jobs of toys, but never made the comeback.
He's not Steve Jobs. No one is Steve Jobs other than Steve Jobs.
The Steve
Okay.
Jobs of toys.
Okay.
Would you say
Let's
he's
get
like
to the
Uber
inventions.
of Shark Tank?
So we've got the measuring shovel,
Yep.
which is a shovel that has like inches and centimeters on it. Then we've got Peely Nuts, which is a guy selling some weird nut in various forms, which we'll get into. We'll get into the pitches and stuff later during minutia. We've got Supply, which is a razor blade company, like a premium razor blade company.
Actually, they don't sell they literally don't sell the blades. They sell the handle.
Oh, they don't
Well,
even sell the
it's not clear if they sell the blades.
We're-
I
oh my god,
think that
guys!
they sell the blades.
Shut up and let Chris do his
Get into
thing.
minutia. There was a update from season 10 from a company called Moink, which was what was it?
Meat delivery.
Meat delivery. Then there was Easy C Pack, which was some sort of like weird, like
It's like a
cold,
cold
and
remedy
flu pill pack thing.
We'll come back to that.
It
one a
sounds
little
like
bit
the most
more.
boring product, but it had the craziest pitch.
Yeah,
That's a
well-
hot teaser.
Yeah, we'll get into the minutia of each one of those, but those that's the same format for each one of those. They give how much money they want, they pitch it. Yeah, we already won it. So, James, can you tell me your history of Shark Tank? There were on 11 seasons. How many seasons of Shark Tank have you watched?
So here's the thing with Shark Tank. It's kind of one of those shows that's just like if it's on, you'll watch it. And I don't really watch it in any regard to what season or episode number it is. So I honestly couldn't tell you like
So you're
how much
just
I've seen
like-
it, but I've seen a bunch of it. Like it's, like
Like-
it's one of those like if it happens to be on live TV, I'd say it's 50-50 if I've seen an episode before.
Okay, here's a question. Do you think you've watched closer to 10 episodes or 50 episodes?
Definitely closer to 50 than 10.
Wow.
Closer
okay.
to 100 episodes?
No. I don't know that I've seen 50, but it's much closer to 50 than
Sure,
it is
sure.
to 10.
So, yeah. So if it's on like CNN Money or something,
CNBC.
Yeah, that
it's
sounds
on
right.
one of those channels like all the time, right?
Oh yeah, I think it's just going
It's the
all the time.
it's-
And the big thing with this one too is it's like again it's one of these shows that like it's watchable across a spectrum of audiences.
You don't need to know anything
You
about
don't need to know
previous
anything. You
seasons.
could roll in halfway through and you just come in time for the next pitch. You're good to go, and you can get that quick hit
Yeah.
and move on.
And it's pretty fun just kind of critiquing these pitches and seeing these people do this and whatever.
And I imagine, like most people, it's fun to imagine, like, oh, I could come up with something like this. Maybe I could invent blah de blah. Oh, we should go on Shark Tank. It's just like it's a fun conversation piece.
So as you're saying this, Noah's just shaking his head that he's agreeing with everything James has said. So from a history perspective, I'm assuming you're the same, Noah.
Me and James are on the same page when it comes to Shark Tank.
So you just watch random episodes on CNBC and like,
If I had cable, I would like when I'm in a hotel room. It's definitely a good default. The thing is, though, like the show, I wish it would age better. It's hard watching some of the more earlier pitches. Like it's just not as refined, and some of the comments are just more immature. If that makes sense.
sure, I don't know.
Well, and some of the products like kind of don't hold up as well. Like if you're watching a season 2 and it was 6-8 years ago or whatever. I don't know if they do yearly. I don't really know the schedule at all. How long is a season of Shark Tank?
This is a home stereo that will hold your iPod.
Last season was like 13 episodes or something.
Okay.
It's not
crazy
The
long
current seasons aren't like 20 some episodes, but I don't know. 10 years ago, I can't imagine they weren't 20
Right.
episodes. So like,
Yeah, I would say a big difference. The shows became a lot more famous, right?
Yeah.
And so in the earlier seasons, like it's some like just pretty shitty entrepreneurs and products. And I think by like season 4 or 5, it got to that threshold where the producers are very intentionally putting the right products or the right shows. Like for today, we had like a health food guy and the Kind Bar guy, and they started doing that more again, probably like around season 4 or 5.
And like, I'm not sure what season Mark Cuban joined up. But I feel like after Cuban came in, like the popularity definitely kind of ramped up. Too.
I will go in the corner. I thought he was on season 1.
He was not.
He was an addition because I think season 1 might have only been 4 sharks, and I think they upped it at some point to add a spot for Mark. But the other thing the show does too is they'll rotate occasionally some of the judges. So Damon, who's famous from FUBU, will come in, and then I feel like there's somebody else.
Barbara.
As a real estate person,
Bar- Barbara Corcoran.
Right. So they'll always at this point I think they always have 5. I want to say that it started with 4. I could be wrong.
Sometimes they have
but they
6.
rotate.
I will get back to.
I like who's the person that hates Mark Cuban, Harrison?
Donald Trump.
No.
Oh, yeah,
he's on
probably.
the pod. He's
Chris Sacca?
Chris Sacca,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
When they're on together is amazing. They're the best.
Well, because they're both kind of like tech guys and like think that they know more about tech than the other
Yeah,
person.
it's
So they're
great.
always trying to kind of one up each other or whatever.
Yeah, so there's 2 on the Wikipedia page. There's 2 other like stars of the show. Personally, I actually can't picture them. Kevin Harrington and Rohan Oza.
Yeah, I've definitely seen episodes with both of them on it.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So, Mark, we went over Noah's and James' history. Anyone else have like what's your history, Max? You've seen what, like 10 episodes?
I've seen a
2
good
episodes?
amount. I would say I've watched Shark Tank Mexico and Shark Tank Peru in the
Whoa.
past year.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Wh- how
How
are
do
the
they
ju-
compare?
I don't know what they're saying,
So in native language,
But-
like not dubbed.
but they do have the same like theme song and everything, which is great.
It's a good
deal.
song.
Do they have the same graphics and
Oh
everything?
yeah, and even like the same like audio cues of the sort of the screeching metal.
Do they still call it Shark Tank, or do they translate it like
no,
in
they
Spanish?
they just say Shark Tank.
That's great.
All right, Harrison. What about you? What's your history here? Have you seen every episode?
I've definitely not seen every episode, but I've seen a ton of episodes of the show. My first exposure to the Shark Tank universe was when I was in college, and one of my business school professors showed us an episode of Dragon's Den in one of our classes, actually, and we were just they watched someone's pitch and just kind of talked about it, whatever. But yeah, I mean, since then, like I've watched a ton of episodes of it. It's on CNBC all the time. A bunch of the seasons are on Hulu, and it's a good show. I love hearing about these wacky businesses, trying to see what's going on with it. It's just interesting, you know.
I feel like that history is very similar to another show that we've done called The Colony.
That's pretty much the story of the college. Turns out you watch a lot of reality TV in business school. I don't really know why, but it just kind of works that way.
Again.
Business.
That's
Because
in Miami.
business.
I could say in Virginia, we watched 0 reality TV. in
Oh
middle
man,
What
really
was that?
missing out.
Was this the same professor in class?
There's definitely different professors.
Oh man, that's not helping the situation.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
Annabeth, what about you? What's your history with Shark Tank?
I've I've not seen as much Shark Tank. I think I've seen like maybe between 10 and 20 episodes over my long life. But I think it's a big hotel room show. I feel like I've seen it many times in hotels. And then like occasionally I've seen it perhaps on the Hulu.
Okay. I mean, so like I recently wanted like some side TV content if you listen to this podcast.
As one
Shark
does.
Tank is definitely a very good one. And I've made it through like seasons 8 through 10 and half of 7. Like going backwards on Hulu. Like I'll watch season 8 and then I'll go watch season 7 and then I'll go watch season 6.
Do you watch the season in order or also in reverse?
No. Seasons in order, but
Okay.
reverse seasons. I don't know. Don't ask me. It's just easier that way.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go back to like season 1. So like as I finish like
As
the
you
later
run out of
season,
content.
okay, now it's time to go backwards in time. So I don't have nose experience here to say, oh yeah, earlier seasons were shitty because I don't know. I didn't really watch it.
Yeah.
It's also just kind of like something you can put on, pop in and out like mentally without really like giving a crap. So like
Yeah.
watching and not like you know
It's
how it
whatever.
goes.
Well, I was gonna say that's the other piece of this is like it's good to have. It's a good show to have on if you're trying to do some work or something. Like you're at home, you get your laptop, you're trying to do something. Like this is a good show to just kind of have on the background. It's kind of how do you say like maybe a smarter of the reality TV shows in that category if there's such a thing.
The format is really good.
Yeah, so I got some quick hit facts from the internet. Somebody say the internet corner. So the concept originated in Japan in 2001.
Whoa.
The show concept is in over 30 countries. Most of the countries, it is called Dragon's Den. Only in 3 out of roughly the 30 is it Shark Tank. Jeff Foxworthy was one of the original guests.
Oh,
What?
man.
One of the original investors on the show. Mark Cuban did start in season 3.
Okay.
Was there 4 judges or 5 or investors?
I didn't get to that. Detail.
Okay, the internet corner can follow up.
That's
Do you
fine.
think it's Shark Tank in America because we don't have that whimsy to believe in dragons, or like what do you guys think is the story there?
People have a lot of experience with like sharks and like
I'm going
sales
to
people.
blow your goddamn minds.
Really?
In
Whoa.
Japan, it was tigers of money.
Whoa, I love that.
It's a good
So
name.
Do they have tigers in Japan?
What animal has the most money? Dragons, tigers, or sharks, guys?
Dragons.
Definitely dragons.
Dragons.
Dragons
Pile of
like
gold.
eggs are made of gold, right?
Dragons.
I don't know about that, but I know that they
Well-
sit on big piles of gold.
I think we might have to go with sharks here because dragons don't exist, so they're off the table automatically.
Sharks have a lot of like underwater treasure
And,
from
like-
sunken ships.
I feel like a shark like tooth or like shark fins, like it's worth a lot of money. So like if you had some sort of racket where you had sharks, you'd have a lot of money. Whereas like tigers, I don't know.
Tiger
Can't really
tiger
s-
pelts though.
Yeah, but like
I think it's
They're
pretty
not-
illegal to hunt tigers
it's illegal to
in
hunt.
most parts of the world.
It's also
Oh, yeah.
generally illegal to sell like shark.
Oh yeah, sharks are also have a lot of restrictions.
Yeah,
around.
so like both these aren't really not worth that much, but I guess like tigers they're in zoos, so like they actually generate a lot of money. So who knows?
There are a lot of factors here for the richest animal, guys.
So James, it's always been 5. One of the initial sharks, who is now off of it, was Kevin Harrington. He made his money for finding or founding
Dragon's Den.
as seen on TV, like that brand.
Oh.
That's right. I
Oh.
recall that. I've definitely seen an episode where like the intro is it's the as seen on TV guy. You're like, oh okay, got it.
Yeah.
Wait, that's a brand?
It's a brand.
Yeah,
It's
you
a
didn't
whole
know
thing.
that.
No, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
To put that like sticker like on a product in a store, you definitely play like a royalty or something.
Wow.
You're definitely paying a good like.
You're definitely
percentage
doing a
of your
Mr. Wonderful royalty, which we'll get into.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Mr. Wonderful loves putting royalties as part of his
which
deals.
is Mr. Kevin.
Mr. Kevin.
All right, so let's get into this episode. Let's talk about this episode a little bit. I do remind me later to give my rant that I have to give before we give ratings.
sure.
So we got the measuring shovel, which is just a shovel, but it's made by a kid. And something that like Shark Tank loves. Every episode's got to have a kid in it. And
They
this
love the
one
kids. They don't.
has-
Every episode does not have a kid though.
I was like, wait.
Disagree.
All right.
It's like maybe
It's like
20%.
one to a set season.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's like one in every 3, at least in the more recent seasons.
okay, maybe. But this kid's 13.
Yeah. And
So a young teen
So he won an invention contest at his school.
for his fourth grade
no,
science
no,
project.
Tennessee State.
No. I was gonna say he won it at his school. Then he went to states. Then there was some sort of national competition that he won.
I think in Washington.
The invention came up, to be clear, from a fourth grade homework assignment. Let's be clear.
Yeah. So it's just a shovel with a bunch of markings on it, so you know, like, hey, I've dug this deep, or like these plants are this far apart from each other.
Exactly.
So when you, in his words, was his mom made him be very like anal retentive about everything. And so he had to like measure things out with a tape measure. So now he didn't have to get out his tape measure. That's the whole invention. Mm-hmm. It seems like, to James's words, while this is on, he's like, why don't you just get a sticker and put it on your actual shovel?
Well,
yeah.
sticker might come off though.
It's true. Get some really good adhesive on it.
Here is a thing about this invention. If you're putting like sort of a straight sticker on a curved shovel, it's going to be slightly warped. The measurements are going to be
So to
slightly
be clear,
wrong.
the sticker was not specifically talking about the shovel head or the digging part, but rather the
Lengthwise.
handle or the pole of the shovel.
Sure, yeah.
He did later go on to specify, which I do think is a good idea, that he's going to create a mold for the shovel, which has the imprint or indentions for the markings of the measuring, which makes sense. I think that's a good idea. He has a patent. The patent's the only thing that
makes
this
this
kid's really
company
got.
worth at all.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, it's an invention. It's not a business,
Right.
I mean,
He is inventing
there are
something.
$0 in sales. They have not produced a real prototype. He has this patent basically because there was a patent attorney who heard about this kid's thing and decided to do the patent work for free, which is awesome.
Wait,
Did
they didn't go over this was a utility patent or like an application?
They definitely didn't
patent?
get into the details of it, and I don't know when he applied for that patent. I mean, I guess he said he was in fourth grade when he invented it, and he's 13 now, so maybe 3 years, maybe you get that patent. I don't know. It might. That's a
Home
little
Depot
quick,
and
I think.
Lowe's are just waiting this thing out, and they're just going to start making their own shovels with this stupid measuring thing in it.
So another thing that you get into if you keep watching a lot of this is there's utility patents which aren't that good. They're just kind of like you can't sell a shovel like this exact same way. But if you sold a shovel with like less markings on it, you could probably get away with it. Whereas like an application patent is like, oh, this is shit's real. Like you can't sell any shovel with any markings on it that like do any measurements at all.
It's like it's more about like the idea of putting the markings on a utility is kind of that purpose,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So-
That's definitely a more valuable situation.
So like the difference between these two comes up depending on the product on the show because they have to get it like changes the value of companies a lot depending on if you have a utility patent and like an application patent.
I think the difference is utility patent and a design patent, and like a utility
Yeah.
patent basically like covers like the process by which something is made or like a technique for doing something, and like a design patent is like the design of a product. These kind of like cover different things, but like the real thing is like if you've just like filed for and like applied for this patent, or if like it's actually been like reviewed and granted by like the patent office, which takes like 5 years or something like that, like to like usually to get a patent kind of.
Yeah, there's also that application.
Yeah.
There's also the reality that you need a lot of money to defend a patent. Like it's kind of like a smoke and mirrors a little bit. It's like, oh, I got this. Oh, someone bigger sues you. Oh, you need tens of thousands of dollars to defend this. Like, and you're trying to raise $10,000. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's part of it. It's definitely, but there's also a point of like, well, now I have this patent. It is like still harder for you to like somebody to fight you in courts if you have one or not. But you're right.
If you're this kid and you're in this situation where your whole business potentially is this idea of the shovel, you damn well better have a patent, because if you don't, then there's no business at all. Like there's barely already a squinty version of a business, barely.
Barely.
But like if you don't have a patent, there's nothing. It's just like, we'll get out of here.
So, patent law is obviously fascinating, but, what happens to this kid on the show?
I know,
Well,
I was gonna be like, that's like the patent corner, but like,
Yeah,
we all
welcome
kinda
to the
ranted.
learning corner. What we've learned on Shark Tank.
I think we should talk a little bit about this pitch in
Oh,
general.
the
We
pitch.
haven't really gone
Yeah.
into any of the details of
Man,
the
that pitch. Whoo. brings the parents in,
Brings
the
in a
mom, the
sister
dad, and
who
the
does
sister.
nothing.
Never heard the sister say anything.
She didn't say anything.
She
And
was
they had
cute.
this like it was a really staged and orchestrated pitch, which that's pretty common.
Yeah.
But this one just it felt a little painful to get through. It was a little too much over the top.
The
I don't know the right
moment
word for
these
it.
people walked in and I saw the kid was giving the pitch, and the fact that it was the first one on the show, I knew he was going to get a deal. There was no
Totally.
This was like that warming opening, like kind of
pretty. I'm curious if anybody's crunched the numbers on this, but I think if it's a kid, they always give it, right?
Do you think they?
No.
So
No, they don't.
do you think that they cut the show in a way so that like the first one always gets a deal? Or do you think the way that we see it is do you think the way we see it is the way it happened?
I
No.
certainly think they put the most dramatic thing at the ends.
Okay.
Correct.
I think that obviously they don't film multiple episodes at a, like they could film a bank of episodes with the same 5 like guests or like
Yeah.
people, but you can't film like intermittently because you have different people in the tank.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like getting into one of our favorite topics in here, the production schedule of Shark Tank. I mean, I do think that you're lining up. I mean, when you have this panel of people, you're lining up about 20 people to roll through a day, and they're just sitting there and just filming like 20 of these, and then they're just chopping them up and organizing them however they want. Like, I mean,
But episode to episode, they're wearing different clothes and things. So
maybe they do a
they
wardrobe
can't
change.
be
I don't
mixing
know.
around the ordering drastically. But I do think they're rolling a bunch. They get the best hitters of the day, and they string that into an episode.
That's the big question. How many more entrepreneurs get on that they never put on TV?
I mean, I think that there's a screening step that's before this one where they kind of select people into this, obviously. But I think that all the ones that actually, well, certainly all the ones that get a deal that go in front of them make it on. I bet that there might be some that don't get a deal that they're just like, that was just boring, let's cut it.
It has to be, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't think they're actually taping multiple episodes per like shift. And I mean a shift like per set of judges, right? Because it does change every episode, and you don't really see like the guest judge continue too much within a season, episode to episode.
I think that there's definitely like more than you see in one episode in one day, but I don't think they're filming multiple episodes a day. I think that each one of these, what I've read, takes like an hour to 2 hours to do. Like it's not, and then they cut it down to like
Each pitch?
Yeah,
Oh,
they cut
man.
it down to like 5-10 minutes. So
I guess
like
I could
it's
see that with all the setup.
because
and
there's
they're
just a
changing
lot
everything.
more information that the Sharks need. Like sales numbers, all lot more information to actually invest is what I've read online. So like
That totally makes sense.
they're, I
I'm
don't
sure
think
they
they're
cut out a ton.
I don't think they're doing. They might do like 20 a day, but like they'll just be like, okay, we got 5 good ones. Cut the rest till like tomorrow. or
The
whatever.
other thing that they don't really explain in the show is that like the offer is not binding. Like they get to go and look at the company's finances and kind of do some due diligence before they just dump this investment into this company. So it's not like it's just like you have to get all like everything on like at
Yeah.
the time either.
So, but is it binding to a degree, or is it completely just for
I
entertainment?
think it's just a handshake deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like it's their intention to invest at that amount if they do their due diligence and everything looks as they represented it in that pitch. Like they're just like they're clearly not like sitting there with the books like during this pitch or anything. So
Yeah, it's definitely like I think there's a good percentage of these that don't go through, which is like 20% probably. I'm pulling that number out of nowhere. Don't
yeah,
don't
I don't know where that number
That
goes.
was not
quote me on that one.
official Internet Corner number.
Anyway,
Let's
So
go
the
back to
kid-
let's go
sorry.
back to this
Maddox.
though.
I'm,
Maddox
I'm
kid.
getting there. I'm trying to. So the kid wanted $40K for 15% of this quote unquote company. And so his first deal comes from Lori and Kevin, aka Mr. Wonderful, $40K for 30%. And then the Kind Bar guy, whatever the hell his name was, he was going to give $40K for 25%. And he kept trying to counteroffer Lori, blah, blah, blah. Eventually takes their offer, $40K for 30%, which pretty good deal.
That's a hell of a deal. That kid's company's
Incredible.
worth no money,
Like,
$0.
the-
Zero.
The fact that he still has voting control over this company is amazing.
That's definitely one of the things that, it seems like in some of the earlier seasons, the deals these people were cutting were a lot harsher. Like, you would hear a lot of stuff like, unless I have a controlling stake in this company, I'm not interested. And they've kind of eased up on some of that over the years and have kind of left control to some of these founders. But that's kind of been an interesting thing to see.
Even the negotiating tactics have gotten a lot more sharper, because you would see the Sharks sometimes moan about 5%. That's bullshit. I can't do anything. Yet with some companies, they're like, I'll take 5%, easy. And so the entrepreneurs are just getting more keen. I know what's up.
I think they spent $40K on this company because $20K is nothing to either of these people, and they want to make the kid feel good.
In this, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they might get a nice like royalty deal because you're not making these shovels. That's just not happening.
Sure.
You're just licensing this like thing, hopefully to somebody. And if they don't license it, I don't think that they really care that much.
Yeah, like you go and try and sell this patent to like the Home Depot or somebody who I don't know who the big shovel company is.
Big shovel.
Big shovel.
Big shovel.
You know.
Yeah. So I mean, they always tend to have a kid sometimes, and they always have the kid pitch. This is a very normal thing on Shark Tank, and for the kid to get a deal, I think is a very much higher percentage than a regular deal.
Definitely a higher percentage. Also because the kid companies are almost always very low valuation.
Yeah. It's always very cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just it's just like they're not valuating these kids companies at millions of dollars. So like it's a lot easier to like, yeah, I'll give you a couple tens of thousands of dollars. It's fine. Like,
The
whatever.
one line of questioning they didn't go to in this one was, are you still in school?
Oh,
They usually
yeah.
bring that up.
They're like, so what's your school situation like? You dropping out? Like, what's going on? You are you really in this business or what?
Well, this one it didn't seem like there was any possibility that this was ever going to be kind of a full-time thing for this kid.
I don't
Right, like,
even
it
know.
wasn't like a big enough product.
40% of this company even gets you. Like, literally nothing.
Yeah.
It gets you.
This kid's gonna take 40 grand and go make a mold for a shovel. That's
And he's
you're gonna
gonna
have
make a
mold.
bunch of
He's not doing
shovels.
any of that.
Like,
This kid's gonna take that 40 grand and put in his pocket, and then hopefully Kevin and Lori figure out how to sell that patent to somebody. Like that's the entire thing. Like,
Also, Mark Cuban went out of the deal because he didn't know what a shovel was, which is his claim.
oh yeah, he said something like,
No, he
before you came on the show, I didn't even know what a shovel looked like.
Yeah.
He was just saying, I don't like plants. I don't like
No,
plant
I
business."
know it was a joke, but it was like it's still. I think
Yeah.
the meta-ness of it is also funny.
It's one of my favorite things on this show is to watch the way the sharks bow out sometimes, because like sometimes like you see like they immediately sort of like panic and they know they need to get out before the other sharks, so they're not the one shark left who has to let this person down.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. And then the justification when they go out, when they really like the person, is also like very interesting to me.
All right, so let's go over the next guy, Peely Nuts, which is Peely.
A Filipino.
Yeah. James, you want to go over the pitch on this one? Since you did a good job with the last pitch.
Ooh man, so the guy, this sort of white guy, sort of military-ish looking kind of build comes out in a t-shirt, you know, with his lifestyle brand kind of stuff. And he tells a story about how, you know, years ago he found himself in this Filipino forest,
kite surfing in the Philippines.
kite surfing in the Filipino forest. No, well, yeah, we'll come back to the kite surfing because he had a side story of like, oh yeah, just you know, I was
I wanna get
sleeping
into
out
that
of that.
later.
We'll come back, anyways. Harrison derailed me there. And so he finds this nut, and so he tries it, and he's like, "Well, this nut's really good." And so he decides to make a business out of this nut. His pitch then continues on to demonstrate how to. Do you have something?
I
Ref?
have a quick interjection. At this point in the pitch, he is talking about the nuts. There is a bowl of these nuts on the table next to him. The camera zooms close on the nuts. All of us are appalled because there is nothing for scale. These nuts could be any size.
Any size.
Back to the
true.
pitch.
And-
Now
and-
we're back to the demonstration.
And that's a good tie-in because so the rest of his pitch is really him demoing, and I'll just cut to the chase, how difficult it is to get these damn nuts. Basically, he cuts to all of these nuts are hand opened out of the shell or like from the fruit or whatever, and there's a whole like complication around nuts that we don't need to get into here.
Yeah.
But he takes a machete by hand, takes like 3 or 4 whacks. He struggles in the demo to open the damn nut. Like he's like, whoa, didn't get that. He does it again. Then shows a video clip of some Filipinos climbing the trees barefoot to try to get these nuts. So now not only is it difficult to open, it's difficult to get, it's difficult to process. And all of us, I'm pretty sure, are looking at these nuts like, what's your operating cost here? Like, how much does it cost to get this damn nuts? Anyways, fast forward. He has about 14 different product SKUs for different kinds of nut-related products with this nut. He makes some chocolate and some other things. And that's it. He's asking for $325K for 10%.
Good memory there. You didn't even write that down. Yeah.
He's a numbers guy.
And shocker here, no one wants in. They're like, this is only a $10 million business when it's already worth like $3 million. So like, there's none of growth. At least Kevin says that, but a lot of the other people just implied that as well.
Yeah, he's got something like in the range of 2 million or
Like
2 and change million in sales. So like, he's doing good sales. He's doing good things. A lot of the Sharks, I think, feedback was generally that he's spreading himself too thin and trying to be too creative in the amount of products that he has. So I think that was ultimately his demise. Where if he came in, he's like, look, I got these 3 nut things or whatever. But then again, there's nothing special here. His brand is the nut. This nut is a naturally occurring, growing thing. And I think the Sharks said, like, unless you buy all of the land that this nut can grow on, like, there's not like anything to keep your competition out.
Well, what really killed him, it wasn't necessarily the SKUs, which was icing on the cake. He had too much inventory. So he had $400,000 worth of inventory just in the shelves. And the reason, which he didn't necessarily spell out in the show, was if he had less SKUs, he'd probably have less inventory because he could better predict than volume of sales.
Right.
Rather than having to take bets on
You're stocking
larger
14
line of
products versus 3.
Right, exactly.
Which honestly is a thing I never would have thought about. Like, it's an interesting little business thing I learned from this episode.
Yeah.
I have one other minor minutia for this one.
Hit me.
So when the guy said he has $1 million in sales, Noah gets up and fist pumps the air.
Yeah.
Because he has $1 million in sales.
He's pumped.
Well, no, because I guessed it before he said it.
Oh, I didn't know why. I thought you were just excited for this guy because he hit $1 million in sales.
I mean, if you sell $1 million worth of nuts, that's not bad.
No. It's good.
It's
It's
very
good.
good.
I just loved Noah's his excitement for this.
I get very excited when I guess something and I'm right. Even though my guesses are based in nothing, I just like being lucky.
Sure.
All right.
And it was basically like a big part of this dude's pitch. Like, these are nuts that aren't really sold, they're not super available, and he's just kind of bringing these in, and people are like, oh man, these nuts are really good. But I mean, as the pitch goes on, it becomes clear the reason these nuts are not available is because they're so hard to obtain. They only grow in this one part of this jungle in the Philippines, and they have to be machete by hand and all this stuff. And like, he never got to the part of the story where it's like, all these people have thought about bringing this nut to the United States, but haven't been able to figure it out. Here's what I figured out about it, and I invented something that like makes this reasonable now, and he just didn't, and like that's just
He's just
limits
accepting
his growth.
The higher margin and not being able to sell a whole lot because he didn't make it any easier.
Yeah, especially in front of Mr. Kind Bar, who like talks about how he, I think, has looked at these nuts and experimented with them and could not do it.
Yeah.
Oh, and he could not do it means he could not bring it to scale at the right
Right.
cost. Like,
Right.
just to close that out, right?
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next guy because we gotta move.
Yeah.
We're
Let's go.
Talking a lot.
Next guy, next couple.
Next couple. So supply.
Ay, ay.
Noah, since you interjected, I'm gonna give you explain the pitch for supply here.
It's Mr. and Mrs. Cadu.
Is that actually their last name?
That's their last name.
I did not catch it. Wow, that summarizes the pitch quite well. So this is a couple from Fort Worth, Texas. Their pitch is overly cheesy and dramatic.
I'll give you the best description: cringeworthy.
Yeah, it really is. Like, the guy messes up, which that's fine.
The guy messes up like 2 times until finally nailing it the 3rd time, and it's like some really cheesy like joke about 4th of July.
I have it. Here we go. It's it's your pores clog worse than your arteries after a 4th of July picnic.
Here's a question. Okay, actually no. Continue with the pitch because I have a question immediately afterwards.
Yeah, so the guy messes up, not a big deal, but just the script they made was just pretty poor. Then they bring out a guy dressed like George Washington who looks nothing like George Washington. He looks like Artie Lang, if you actually get that reference, dressed as George Washington. And yeah, it's just a pretty shitty pitch, but the product they make actually seems decent. They make a very high quality razor handle that is meant to handle single blade razors, and they are actually doing pretty well, so good for them. But that's the end of my intro.
Key thing, they sell this thing, the handle, for $129.99 US.
It is solid stainless steel and very heavy, says every shark when they pick it up.
It's like if Apple had designed like a razor, like imagine that's kind of what it would look like, and it's just way too expensive, and it's all metal.
The later version of the iPhone, because it comes in several colors, so it's at that point of production.
No, or Max, what do you got?
I have a question. Okay, so they make this joke about 4th of July arteries. They bring out George Washington. Do we know exactly when this episode was aired? Or when it was filmed? We know it was aired in November.
Seems like a July 4th kind of.
Yeah.
I have a question about the guy who was dressed as George Washington, just for the room. Do you think this is a friend of the couple, or is this a paid actor?
Friend.
Friend.
I don't know.
He's not good enough as an
I
actor.
am not.
Agree.
Well, I am not sure.
He could be. He
There
could be just an
wasn't a
employee
lot
this
of
company.
rapport between the couple, and it was all very weird.
I think that he's a friend who is an amateur actor or comedian.
Guys,
Do you think it's like if like 1 year?
Oh, do you think? Sorry, not to cut there.
No.
But building off of that, is he the one that wrote the terrible script for the people?
I bet that he consulted on it.
sure, yeah.
I'm sure the Fort Worth comedy scene is maybe not thriving, and he's what they got.
Here's some other parts from the pitch that we didn't cover. The woman in the couple makes a joke about something about how it gets your face as smooth as these tidy whities, and she pulls out some underwear.
Yeah.
Her
I
husband's
think that
underwear.
was like the joke. It was really weird.
It was so cringeworthy.
didn't really
Every
make
time.
so
sense.
alarming. And then so she throws that on the floor, and then later George Washington tries to make an exit from this pitch because it's so weird, and he says, "Got to get back to Martha." And then one of the sharks points at the underwear on the ground, and he's like, "You forgot something," and everybody laughs like it makes sense. It was like a whole Twilight Zone in there.
Yeah, the real shame is they're making a very high quality premium product. The pitch should match the product. This pitch is for a whoopee cushion.
100%, dude.
Noah's completely right.
They should be talking about how they fucking machined the
Hand
aluminum.
forged in the underbelly of the.
Yeah, and how because I'm a former aerospace engineer, like we did aerodynamics testing on. Like they should be talking about the love of the design of the razor and all this bullshit.
It's
like,
forged from a single plate of steel, so there's no cracks or crevices. It'll never break. Like that's the
Definitely.
angle they need to go.
Well, and then so this pitch is like totally terrible and like really horrifying to watch. But then like they ask these guys like their background, and the guy talks about being an aerospace engineer and how he hated it. And this was like the most normal you've ever seen him. He seems like a totally normal, pretty nice dude. And then like as soon as he goes back into the pitch, it's just unwatchable.
Well, on that note, I have to talk about this.
Hit me.
So, like, this is what I call the NBC Olympic effect, where every like Americans love a sob story. It's just like the NBC Olympics is all the Olympics is. It's just sob story after sob story. It's everyone's family story, like how much they work so much, and like this person, he was working as aerospace. He made 6 figures. He left it because he was depressed. It's just a sad story. He was just a sad man earning $100K and invested $175K into this company he started. What a sad man. I'm so sad for him.
No, I
I don't know that
actually
I got
don't
the
think.
sad as extreme.
I don't think.
No, I
it's-
know, but like that's kind of the vibe they're trying to go for here.
I think that is the vibe they're trying to go for, but I agree with you in that I do not think this is a particularly sad story. I think it's more like illustrative of him being like a more normal person than this pitch like leads you to believe.
Well,
Because
that's
it
what I was gonna
actually
go,
seemed like
yeah.
he was like pretty genuine.
This
but I
was
do
more
agree.
of the
This
relatable, right?
Yes.
Like they're trying to go for, oh, like I've got that 9-to-5 job, blah blah blah. Like, oh, I wish I could like control my own destiny or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate doing the same thing every day. Like that's what they're trying to go for here, and so like this is the relatable card.
And I mean, like, I definitely get why people try to do these kind of corny, gimmicky, kind of written pitches in this way, but it really does a lot of them a disservice because, I mean, a big part of the pitch is really like these sharks saying, is this a person I can work with? Is this a serious person who's going to be able to run and grow this business, or am I going to work with a cartoon character? Like, they just, like, I mean, like, they really...
Spoilers ahead. Mr. T's over here.
And the guy's jawline, I gotta close that, is like a cartoon character.
Oh, I
Yeah.
have this written down. Noah doesn't like these people. His jawline is too strong.
Yeah,
Direct quote from.
yeah. He
I mean, they
kinda-
did look like models. Like, it
Right.
was insane.
Yeah, it's like the guy's like a American Dad jawline. I'm like, I want to like him, but I just can't. He seems like a nice guy, but he should just get fat or something.
Oh man.
I do have one last thing to say about these guys. So they mentioned that he was a former aerospace engineer. His wife said she was a teacher at a public all-girls school.
Yeah, and
Is that legal?
that just drifts on by.
Texas.
I've just I've never heard of like an all-boys or all-girls school that wasn't private.
All right. Well, on
Um,
that note, so these people want $300K for 10%.
Yeah.
So at some point, Mr. Wonderful, aka Kevin, offers $300K for 5% and a royalty of $150 per unit sold in perpetuity.
Steep.
And then Robert offered $300K for 15%. No royalty. So does anyone want to talk about Kevin's royalty scheme now, or like?
This is a thing that Kevin does on every single episode of the show. And his big thing is that he always says, I'm going to take a royalty of every unit that you sell so that I know that I'm going to be able to get my money back. And it might seem like a lot, but it's really good because it means that our interests are 100% aligned. And the more that we sell, the more money we both make, basically. And it's basically just this kind of insurance policy that he likes to try to give himself so that he's not just going to lose all of his money in these total crapshoot deals that they're investing in.
I'll say he's got that like insurance sales pitch down. He definitely spins it well, but I don't know that that's really. It's really just so he doesn't have to put as much money in, and he's getting money back.
It's total bullshit because your incentives are not 100% aligned because he is going to optimize for a short-term sales versus a long-term decision that might potentially be better for the business, which I really am upset that none of the entrepreneurs call him out on.
Well, I mean, these entrepreneurs, as we didn't really get into, is that they pick Robert's deal. And the reason they do is because they don't want to take money out of the company, which is what Kevin is essentially doing by taking a royalty. So he's taking money out of the company. But at like $130, their margins are pretty high. So like $1.50 is like...
Yeah, so we have to talk about that too. So they sell this razor for, was it $120?
$129.99.
And it costs them, I think they said about $20 to make it or something like that. So they're making $100 on every razor handle they sell. I mean, that's pretty big time margin. And the thing that they didn't really get into in this pitch, and maybe they got into it in the room, but we just didn't see it, is that the whole way that this whole razor industry works is that you try to sell people the handle for as cheap as possible, and then you make all your money on the blades because then you keep having to buy special blades for these things so that they'll load up into it. And they even talked about how they have this special kind of safe blade loading system that nobody else has, but they never kind of got into the part of their business model that's like, hey, once these people have this thing, we're getting an average of X dollars per month every year from these people. I mean, that's kind of like the whole part of this business, and they never got into it.
No, they flipped the business model. Like, it'd be interesting to see how they market it, because another part, they didn't talk about their customer acquisition cost, assuming
for
they're
sure.
profitable. But I imagine it takes a hefty amount of money to just get that sale in. My hunch is they don't sell the razors at all. Their pitch probably
The
is
blades?
Yeah, my hunch is their pitches. You pay for this expensive handle, and by the way, because the handle is so durable, over some period of time, you start to save money because you can buy off the shelf single razor blades.
So razor,
I'm not
so-
sure about that.
No, no,
Guys,
hold
we
on.
got to
Internet-
keep it rolling.
I have Internet
They-
Corner. They do sell the blades.
Oh,
And but they do market it the same way you said. Basically, they market it like if you do disposable razors, like you're paying like $100 per year after year one. But like with our thing, you pay like $100 year one, and then you pay $20 per year after that.
Well-
so that's their kind of.
But I mean, like I think that the big issue here is that, I mean, they need to get out there in volume so they can be making money off of these blades, though. Like they could sell this thing for $50 and it would still be the most expensive razor on the market by a country mile.
Hold
and
on.
like they just
We got to take this slower. So like the kind of razor they're selling is like a single blade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Don't
haven't
make-
mentioned that yet.
You don't make any money on the single blade. Like there's like blade shipping companies will like send you like 5 of these for $1.
well, you do if
Like,
you
you
have
don't-
your proprietary cartridge system.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
only
but
way
the,
to do it
that,
is your
the
thing.
whole market here is like, hey, I'll give this as a gift for Christmas, and then this is like
this,
a gift.
this is
thing.
definitely gift written like all over it. It's like, oh hey, like
Good
I got
call.
you this really nice fancy razor. It's kind of like, and they go with the old style, like, hey, single blade razor has been around for like hundreds of years. This is like always what we needed. They go into a whole bit of how it's better for your skin. And you don't get ingrown hairs. There's less irritation, all those things, because more blades is more friction and yada yada. I don't know what Gillette has to say about this, but I bet they say otherwise. But anyways, that's their whole thing, right? So they're like, hey, it's this thing. So like, this feels like a thing you would get somebody for like a gift, like a pretty decent, like nice gift.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely.
And you're also locking them into those razor purchases.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in that territory. I'm just surprised they didn't discuss this because like you're basically just getting all these people on like basically a subscription if they are using this handle because they have to buy new blades all the time because they're wearing out. Like-
As I said, people sell these like kind of blades for like with these kind of handles for super cheap. It's
yeah.
like
Super cheap.
the like it's not worth your time to get into that business because the people that already have
Oh,
like
yeah.
market share.
It's already
and, like,
super crowded
They're
and
not like
competitive.
making
It's a
that
different
much
business
money.
model.
anyway.
Like, so I'm looking at their website. They sell 8 blades for $6.
oh man,
Yeah.
okay, that's definitely a whole different thing then.
They're
you used to
providing
pay
the
that Gillette
service.
money for those,
Yeah.
Mach 3, like crazy
Mach
$50.
3, Mach like 20.
82 now.
Mach 20. All right, let's move on. So like sometimes they do a update from previous season or previous episode. This time they did Moink.
Can we just talk
more.
about that? Man, that name. I don't know about that name, you guys.
It is a combination of moo and oink.
I mean, I get it, but I don't like the word
I
that they
also
created.
don't like it. I don't like it. either.
Moink. Oh.
It's a rough name for
And
sure.
their logo is like the silhouette of every animal inside each other in this weird turducken kind of like it is. Everything about this brand, I would say, does not appeal to Annabeth.
So like it's weird. It's weird because this company doesn't seem that big because it's like 6 farms selling their meat
It was like
direct
15,
to
I think.
consumer, something like that.
They're
Whatever.
upping it. They're basically, their whole stick is like it's family farms and like they source it and like,
And
I don't
they're
know, it's
interviewing another
sustainable
100.
and blah, blah. And they pack a bunch of meat up in a box and send it to you, like in the end of the day.
Well, Harrison, you've done this kind of thing before.
Yeah, so there's another company that's called Crowd Cow that kind of does a similar thing to this, and basically they'll partner with some farm and then have basically like a sale of a cow, and like a cow produces so many of these kinds of steaks, so many of these kinds of steaks, so many pounds of ground beef. You can basically buy like shares of this cow, and you'll get a certain amount of different cuts and ground beef and whatever. But yeah, it's definitely similar.
I got to get on that Wagyu train right to my house somehow. How do I get that going?
Called Japan.
Open up
Called
your
Japan.
Open up your wallet.
Do you mean the Wagyu wagon?
Oh, is that a thing?
No.
They-
Oh, the internet. Come on, you can't be just throwing it out like that.
That's Noah's pitch.
All right. Like the updates are kind of nice when like you've seen the previous pitch But you haven't. It's just like there's just not enough information for me to give a fuck about Moink. Like
I
other
agree.
than fucking the name and the fucking ugly ass boots that the guy was wearing during this thing.
So
It's
that's
just
it. It's like the shark
it's a waste of
visits the
time.
farm.
yeah.
Right.
With,
so that's
with
the-
his whole family, with outfits that they've bought for the occasion because they've never been on a farm.
They would like the literal thing was like, I'm taking my son to this part of the country that they've never been, which is outside a city, which is just over at like.
It's
some
definitely
random
the first
farm.
time they've ever stepped foot on a farm.
Yeah, and they literally rolled in on a private jet, and like the family's walking out of this thing, and they have brand new fucking boots and farm looking shirts, and it's insane.
And not your everyday kind of boots.
Oh, bright blue boots that dude
Yeah.
had.
It was
Boots were
great.
glistening in the sun.
And they were clean the whole time.
Oh yeah.
What? Who was this shark? Did you guys know this shark?
Alex Siminoff, he's the founder of Ring, the company that
Oh.
was acquired by Amazon. They
Okay.
make the doorbells. And
Yeah, so
cameras.
that's the number one product on Shark Tank that made the most money.
Oh, interesting.
Ring?
Even though the
Yeah.
sharks passed on the company.
I don't know what
did.
the details are.
No, they that's like the famous story. It's
Well,
like
when
they
I
passed on Ring and
when I Googled it, it was like top products on Shark Tank, and I guess it's not it didn't read into it enough to figure out that they passed on it.
yeah. So the deal they sharks put the most money in. I was googling that as well. Kevin O'Leary invested $2.5 million. I didn't get the stake for the company sold single-use wine cups that had wine filled in with it. The company sold Zips, Z-I-P-Z. And so imagine going to like a stadium, right? Getting like a glass of wine, and it's like filled with wine. It's already like packaged, good to go.
Sounds terrible for the environment.
Terrible for the environment, but just very useful.
Good for
Very
a
innovative.
basketball, team owning, giant stadium owning,
Like,
investor.
Great idea. And I think the company had like the patents throughout the wazoo on it, and this is like, oh wow, amazing,
Cool.
go for it.
All right, so let's go to the last group of people here, which we got Easy CPAC
Oh my god.
Oh boy.
with
Wait.
berry bacteria.
Can you spell?
You gotta
easy
tee the guy up.
CPAC?
Yeah,
That's a
I
little-
got this for you.
Thank you.
The letters E Z C hyphen P A K.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like a play on
What
like,
a great
a
It's a play on
Z-Pack.
Z-Pack.
what a great brands. Everyone's gonna remember how to search for this thing.
Harrison, can you tell us about this guy's pitch and berry bacteria?
Oh boy. So this guy, comes in a doctor's coat. He's clearly presenting himself as a doctor, and
It says MD on his coat.
and it appears that he is a doctor. that's just kind of setting
That's the
stage.
appearance he's giving.
And he basically starts to go into this story that has a couple of different things. And first, he says, we've been using antibiotics to treat, bacterial illnesses, and it's been like really great. The problem is that doctors are over-prescribing antibiotics, and people have viral illnesses, which antibiotics do not help to kill. And what is happening instead is because these antibiotics are being over-prescribed, then these bacteria are becoming super bacteria, and they are becoming immune to the antibiotics we have.
You're missing a lot of
you're
important details.
Yeah, you're missing. Where's Barry?
Where's
You gotta
Victor?
mention Barry.
To explain this, he got basically an animator to make a couple of videos, and he has little characters: Bacteria Barry,
Cartoon characters.
Victor Virus,
Victor
and
Von Virus.
Victor Von Virus, and yeah, they're just
Don't forget about Baby Barry.
Baby Barry.
Super Barry.
Barry
The
has
Super Barry.
Barry has 3 different forms.
Super Barry was a mix of Virus Von whatever.
Victor Von
Victor
Virus.
Von Virus and Bacteria Barry into Super Barry.
I thought this was really funny. I laughed so
Scene
hard.
with the cars.
You have to talk in the
No, I
microphone.
know. I wanted you to talk about how Bacteria Barry flipped a car when he became Super Barry.
Bacteria Barry became very dangerous when he became Super Barry.
Also,
Like,
so the
oh
one
my
thing
god,
I
this
hate-
guy's trying to be so credible, and then he just rolls a freaking like PBS level cartoon. Like, what is this guy doing?
This guy should have come like. This guy needed to come in and present as super professional. He should come in with like a slide deck with data and charts and all this shit. And he definitely needed that. And it turned out he needed that kind of stuff because he basically gets done with this whole thing and he explains this whole problem of bacteria becoming immune to antibiotics because of overprescription. And he basically attributes it to kind of consumer-driven healthcare and the effect of all these prescription drug ads and all this stuff, marketing directly to consumers and telling you to go ask your doctor for this drug when really you're a consumer and you're not a medical professional. You don't know what you should be prescribed. And that's kind of leading to a lot of kind of misprescribing of stuff is kind of the problem that he tees up. And then he says... Then he doesn't really explain his own product. He's like, I've got a bunch of stuff that's not antibiotics that's going to help you get better. But
well, that's the implication. I don't know if he ever says that.
no, like he definitely doesn't really get into it because as soon as he gets finished telling this story about antibiotic immunity, Mark
And
Cuban,
consumerization of healthcare.
yeah, like Cuban basically just steps in. He's like, "You're 100% wrong. You're completely wrong about what you just said." And I don't even really know what the point is that he makes there, but he basically just says that like, yeah, you're wrong. Family history. Like he starts talking about basically how people know what their family medical history is, so they should be able to go into doctors and demand that they do certain things because they know what's best because of their family history and all this stuff. And the doctor guy basically keeps saying, he's like, hey, that's not really what I'm saying. Basically, I'm just saying that I don't think that all these consumers should go in and start demanding prescription drugs that they don't know what they do.
But his complaint was like that his product was consumer facing medical stuff. Like,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because it's
Distinguishing
not prescribed doesn't
non-prescription
mean
over
it's
the
not
counter.
like still like you're advertising to consumers to sell this stupid
Yeah.
thing. Like that's you're railing against that specific thing was railing against his specific product as well.
That I think was like Mark's ultimate argument, but he kind of got into it a little bit on like the substance of like some of the scientific sort of stuff that he was saying, and then just kind of came back around to it, and your product's bullshit and it won't work or whatever.
Well, and then he asked, like, so are you practicing? And then we learned that he has not been a practicing medical doctor for about 3 years now, and he's putting all of his energy into this business. And that's when Mark goes, well, we need more actual doctors, not more people selling this stuff, like, basically.
It seems
So it
hypocritical.
just seems like it struck a chord with him.
Yeah, I think that-
And, like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if something happened in Mark's life to either him or his family or friends or something, but, like, it seemed like this resonated way too close to home for him. And, like, it was very clear that there's a tit for tat going on here between the pitcher and Mark, and it's not going well.
And this doctor is getting pretty upset about it. He's getting pretty angry, and Mark
he's flustered.
Mark Cuban's on there like challenging his like integrity and like all this kind of stuff, and he's getting calling his product bullshit. So he's getting pretty flustered.
I've
Then
got-
Lori tries
well, hold on,
to give
before-
him. Okay.
Before we get to Lori, it's like when he's going over this like superbug thing. It's like superbugs like exist, but most of them are coming from like India, like just in general. They're not like coming from like the US. Like they get here and they stay here because they're like superbugs, which is like I just like
Yeah.
he like glossed over this whole thing. Like I just find it very disingenuous to be even on this show to explain superbugs and not like really explain how to even attempt to solve this problem or where it comes
Yeah.
from.
He
or-
also didn't draw the line from superbugs are a problem to this is why my product
yeah,
is a solution.
that was
to
the
it.
second thing is like I don't know what the hell this fucking product is.
Because this fucking product is snake oil. But
Well, I mean, like that's definitely part of it, but it also just immediately came off the rails as soon as this Cuban thing
Right.
happened, and like it seemed like he almost didn't even get a chance to really finish his pitch before this whole thing just came off the rails.
I just really want to know, is this like a homeopathic thing? It was unclear
It
if there's
is.
any actual
It's
medicine
not
in
homeopathic.
It's-
It
just
is homeopathic.
It's
It's-
just medicine. It's just
no,
like
it's not medicine.
No, it's definitely it's like emergency. It's like
Yeah.
Zycam. It's kind of
Yeah,
all
that-
those like vitamins.
but that's
and
not
homeopathic is a
homeopathic.
very
is.
specific set
This is
of
just
snake
vitamins.
oil.
This is just vitamins and minerals.
Yeah, this is
homeopathic means it has
supplements.
literally just like it's like water with like that had a mineral in it at some point in time.
Yeah. Homeopathic is a
Homeopathic-
very specific definition of snake oil.
I mean,
guess I'm
Zycam
wrong.
says
I always thought
homeopathic
of,
on
like,
the packaging.
somewhere.
I don't.
But anyway,
anyway, I think this is
anyways,
one of
it's not
the-
like a actual like medicine
It is not.
substance.
It is not tested by the FDA
Right.
or anything like that.
I think this is one of the pitches where there was likely a lot of editing because the pitcher seemed, I don't know if flustered is the word, but he seemed preoccupied
He
with
seemed
Mark
pretty-
Cuban.
He seemed pretty smug too.
He did seem smug, which I don't know if he actually is or he just had bad presentation skills. But he seemed preoccupied with Mark to the degree where they made him seem like that was unnecessary, but potentially it might have been necessary.
Yeah, you can't blame the guy.
No,
But Max, go over what happens with Lori here.
So Lori starts pitching maybe a deal to him or something. He can't get his eyes off of Mark. And then she's like, wait, hold up. Fucking look at me. I'm out. You're a chauvinist pig. Go fuck yourself.
I mean, to be fair, but she didn't go immediately there. She did ask a few questions, and she tried to
Yeah.
basic conversation. She was trying to ask legitimate questions about his business and sales numbers and all these things, and he is just completely distracted. And after trying for what appears to be a good few minutes, she's like, "Well, you clearly are not listening to me or giving me any attention. Like this is, you know." And then at some point, he just kind of responds with like, "Oh yeah, no, I actually really do like you. You're super positive and like all this like kind of fluff stuff." And she's like, "Well, yeah, but what about like all my legitimate business skills and like everything?" But anyways,
Yeah,
so
imagine-
it didn't look like a good look for this guy in the moment. And again, I don't know how much of the editing, but it didn't seem like it was going well. And so Lori's out for those reasons. She's out of there.
I don't think Lori's saying that to anyone. So there's definitely some components of that are very true.
Yeah,
Like,
this is
she's
the
not-
first time I've ever seen Lori like kind of go
pissed.
off like this.
She's not calling people chauvinists just because
Yeah.
she was ignored. Like she
No,
was
it definitely
completely
seemed- yeah.
like flat out ignored the whole time,
Well,
not
and-
just
and-
because of the Mark Cuban thing.
And she's showing actually a ton of interest in the content of his pitch. And she's like, I've been out there talking about this, super bacteria immunity thing. I take zinc. I'm a big believer in it. So she's out there trying to get him like interested in what she's saying because she actually, I guess, cares about the space. And
I think she was actually like ready to like do something
yeah,
here.
and he just was basically like totally distracted and just like not engaging with her at all.
yeah, he fucked up.
Yeah.
Totally with Lori.
Oh well, so he wants
Like it is not clear to me if he I think something extra must have happened that wasn't on camera because like based on what we saw, like it wasn't clear to me that he was being like sexist or it's just that like the next person that talked after Mark like happened to be her and he would have been distracted anyway. Like it just wasn't really clear to me like how it was going down. I don't know.
so he's asking 125K for 5% of his company. And everyone gets out for various reasons. And we're down with Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Kevin, he offers 125K for 5% with a 60 cents royalty in perpetuity. And he gets he offers back counters, 125K, 5%, $1 royalty until I think he offered till like 500K and they negotiated down to 450K. And that was the deal. So he got a deal, which was very confusing to me because I have no idea what that product was. I don't know anything really about the sales or how good the business was.
Or where he's
or, like,
selling it, or
where-
like if he's got
he
shelf
mentioned
space
that it
or the
was
internet.
in a bunch of stores.
Yeah, he
Like,
did mention
just-
9,000 stores.
We just didn't get to see any of the actual content of the pitch because like they have an amount of time for each segment and they had enough content from this whole crazy thing that happened to basically fill it up and it was just
Well, they had
at
to
the end of
bleep
it.
out Mark Cuban. And
Yeah.
then there was this whole chauvinist interaction with Lori. So like that was the time
And, like,
slot.
I'm actually not super surprised by the reaction from Mark Cuban because if you've seen a bunch of Shark Tank, like it's a pretty common thing with him that like if people are trying to make like claims about a product, like it's going to do something and they don't have data, scientific trials, things like that to back it up, he's always like, I'm out. Like I can't be behind a product that's making claims that are unsubstantiated basically, and
Yeah.
which is very, very reasonable.
He usually does rail the founder for that. I think he went extra deep into this guy because he was a MD.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely.
yeah, this is. I don't like this segment at all, to be honest.
I've never really seen a segment go like this before. I mean, it's a pretty unique thing, I think.
This was uniquely off the rails.
Yep.
So I have a rant, kind of mini rant, just against the show as a whole.
Deliver it.
Before we get to the ratings, I think that's next.
Sure.
So Mark Cuban, I have a real issue with, because if somebody comes in here, which I was going to get into this with specifically around the Peely guy, but I skipped over it. So the Peely guy comes in and he says, yeah, I was living in my van and I found these nuts and I started selling them out of my this hotel room. And Mark's like, yeah, that was amazing, man. You were homeless and you did it. You went out and you did it. But I have a real problem with Mark Cuban for giving all these people props for never paying themselves, eating peanut butter and jelly all year, just being homeless and working on these jobs. I get it. It's, he had the perseverance. He came through. That's great. But for every one guy just on Shark Tank that you didn't give that guy a deal to, there's 5,000 people that are just homeless trying to do this stuff, and you're giving them the motivation to try when they just need to not be fucking homeless or feed themselves or do it. It's such a rare thing to be on Shark Tank, and he just makes it seem if you just persevere or do this ever, you need to sacrifice. And I think that he goes a little over the top a lot of the time. Anytime anyone comes in with any story like that, he's all on. And it just bothers me to an extent that I sometimes have a hard time watching the show because of it. As I said, I like the side content, but I just kind of had stopped watching it just for that. It just gets to me.
I also don't think it's all just Mark. Some of the other sharks do this too, especially Kevin and others, where they seem to reward or praise that putting it all in, you're all in, your chips are all in, you've risked everything. Yeah, I don't know. It feels weird when and they will knock you for taking any sort of cut or salary, which just feels weird. You still have to live somewhere and have a place, to your point, right? Of not encouraging that. And I agree, that if you're gonna knock the show, that's definitely an area where it's I don't know, that's the best message to send to the masses.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit extreme to be you have to live in your car, you can't pay yourself, any of that kind of stuff. I think that really all investors really want to see these entrepreneurs have as much skin in the game as possible, so they know they will work their ass off, because if this company doesn't do well, they're on the street. And that's the way that these investors to have it. So you work your ass off. That just
Chris, I would say this isn't an issue with Shark Tank. This is an issue with American
No,
capitalism.
part of the part of I think this is reinforcing that whole thing. It's
Right.
not it just didn't create it.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's reinforcing this whole American dream. It's
the
not.
American mythos of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and all that.
I kind of have mixed feelings about it, because I think that there are some kind of rough messages that they send. I think that they do kind of applaud that sort of hustle a little bit much, but I do think that it's kind of an inspirational show. It does show that you how you can make a business, how you can be an entrepreneur, the kinds of things that are important. I do think that it is a little bit educational. Maybe it's giving some people some false hope that they can reach that, but I don't know. I think it's a net positive.
I just think that there's a level you can go to where you're helping and getting to that point, but then I think that they cross the line. Not every episode. I didn't think they really crossed the line this time, because that guy was obviously some sort of weird deranged. Not
guy?
deranged, hippie kind of guy. Didn't really matter what that fucking guy was gonna do. He was gonna be living in his car no matter what. Kite surfing. That guy seemed very normal, but sometimes they go into these people and literally haven't paid themselves for 4 years. They're living in somebody's basement and they're single. And they're 40. And they're this is my dream. That kind of stuff is that's just sad. You shouldn't be encouraging that. Dude, man, you're 40. Don't live in your mom's basement to get this shitty company going. That's just ridiculous. Don't maybe if you're 20, but that's just that. Those are the kind of things that they don't think about and they'll just do. And Mark Cuban is the worst at it because he gives them real props. Other people I appreciate that you're so motivated, but Mark Cuban will stand up and shout like Noah will, in terms of yeah, it's amazing that you lived in your mom's couch for 4 years to get this off. So
I'd say the sharks on the show that did that the most are the ones that did that themselves.
Agree.
Like Mark Cuban,
Yeah, for sure.
he is very proud that
No, no.
was his life.
I'm aware that like there was a period of his like 20s where he made a lot of money by doing that specific thing. But then there was a point where he became really successful and he's like 0.0001% of people trying to do that. And he may know that on a conceptual level, but he just like I don't think that he realizes how many people he's encouraging to go down that path.
I don't think that's necessarily wrong though, right? Like if you made it in the NFL and you noticed it because it took practice and like running the drill over and over and over again, you're gonna applaud the person who's doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, from a conceptual level, like, I understand both sides of this argument. I'm not saying that there's this isn't, like, conceptually, like, awful. I'm just saying, in general, I have a hard time because I believe in the American mythos, not the, like, actual thing that, like, if you just work hard enough, it'll happen. Like, how many of these people come in Shark Tank and they don't get a deal? A lot of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So-
think that would be a nice twist on the show, but I think this is the producer choice to then show more of the failure of the people that pitched it. It seemed great because probably 80% of the companies are done within 3 years, just like going like on normal stats, right? They're not going to survive.
80%. It's pretty high. And
No,
that's
yeah,
not even,
no,
that's
that's
not
not-
even the people on Shark Tank.
No, but I mean, again, I'm like spitballing, but I think that would add some more realness to like, hey, you got the pitch, you got the money, like go make your sponge, and
I
never hear
mean,
from them again.
we're gonna wrap this up, but I'm gonna say one last thing: is maybe that's my main problem. Is it's all generally only the success. Like anyone on this show is pretty much a success or like not started yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's it's just kind of like they're not portraying the real American dream and the success rate and the amount of effort you can put in and get nowhere and like just be a complete failure. So like that's the part that I think that they get rah over it all, which also kind of pissed me off. So end of my rant. That said, I still think this is a top third reality show. It is like entertaining. You can come in and out. You don't need to like watch the whole time. There's not a lot of recaps. There's a little annoying like cutoffs and like so you have to come back after the break. But I think that it's fine. Otherwise, like, I think it's highly entertaining and I think the characters on the show are great. And to see some like products is just like fun. I don't think I've ever really ordered anything off of this, but like, it's also just kind of that's where I'm at.
I have ordered many a Shark Tank product.
I'm aware of this.
Did you just
What-
order
what-
one
what have
during
you
the
ordered?
episode?
Yeah, we got to go through them.
I actually don't know all of them. The one I can recall is Pipcorn. It is mini popcorn. I actually don't think I ordered it. I found it in Whole Foods. And then there was Bantam Bagel. They sell them in Starbucks now. They're like these bagel bites with cream cheese in the middle. Those are pretty good.
There's another bagel product that was on the show, but of a different kind.
Some
What
sort of
was it?
coffee bagel.
Coffee meets bagel.
Oh.
Was presented on the show. So I think it's
Interesting.
2 or 3 sisters that started that company.
They're based in Seattle, I think.
Yeah, they were on the show before it was like a big thing. So there you go.
That's
yeah,
cool.
They all turned it down. So
Wow.
I also got a like it was like a men's clothing underwear starter kit. You got like boxers, pajama pants, a t-shirt for like a bunch of things for like $60. I forgot what it was called.
All right.
It wasn't
Uh,
that good.
What is
Real
your
fast,
what
what
your,
is mini popcorn?
It's hard.
I'm trying, guys. I'm
It's
trying.
very
it's like baby bacteria or
it's like-
baby berry, whatever his name
Imagine
was.
just very
Baby berry.
small popcorn. You know, like in Honey I Shrunk the Kids, they have that laser that makes everything small.
No.
Yes, I do.
So
I do.
imagine,
Deep cut,
Is it
guys,
kind of
deep
like
cut.
okay,
so imagine that
like
laser.
the Dippin' Dots of popcorn,
Yeah,
if you will?
yeah.
How big is a kernel of mini popcorn?
Well, that's the thing. It's not like it's everything's just smaller.
Is it like half the size?
I would say
We will
more of
Google
like
what it looks like.
a fifth to a
Compared
quarter.
to a peely nut.
How many peeling
All right,
nuts
would
could
you
you fit in a
say?
Coke
Guys,
can?
like I would
Start
say
shutting up. Start shutting up.
We're
Noah,
shutting up
give
now.
us your ranking.
half an M&M.
That's really small. That's
very
all that
small.
is gonna be.
That's a good
right.
frame of reference.
Okay,
shutting
so
up.
Noah gives this half an M&M out of 10. Okay, James.
Ratings. Noah's growing on his ratings.
No, we need your
Shark
rating.
Tank's the best.
Where
Top
do
of the
you
top.
rate it between a half an M&M and a whole popcorn?
Okay, top of the top. James.
Yeah, this show's great. It's top of the top. Top third, number one overall on the James scale.
Max, what do you got?
Middle of the top. It's good.
All right, Harrison, what do you got?
This is absolutely a top third show. Love this show. Love watching it. I do think that maybe there could be a great spin-off show to kind of help some of Chris's critiques there, where they maybe follow like 5 of the entrepreneurs that got funded over the course of a year and kind of like see what happens. I'd watch that.
Some sort of Cleveland Hustle-ish
Some
show?
kind of Cleveland Hustle type show featuring Mark
Get
Cuban
get
instead of
some
LeBron.
Some LeBron back in this. Annabeth, what do you got?
It's definitely a top show. It's great. Very fun to watch. Also, incidentally, I looked up the most successful Shark Tank product. It's called Scrub Daddy.
Tell me about Scrub Daddy.
It's a sponge in the shape of a smiling face, and it gets firm in cold water and soft in hot water.
Just like me.
Do you want to guess how much? Whoa! And cut.
So are you saying so
Play us out, Chris. It's over.
Roll tape.
your
Find us
penis
at,
works
put
the
this on
opposite
Facebook,
way?
Twitter, and Google.com.
Max, tell us more about your penis.
Wait. No, didn't you say
Whoa,
that
I
you,
wasn't talking about my penis. Get your head out of the gutter.
No, didn't you say you owned this product?
No, I do not own Scrub Daddy, but Scrub Daddy's famous because it just has done so well.
I've
But
never heard
another
of a Scrub
product.
Daddy.
Wait. Do you
want
want to know how
Oh.
how much money Scrub Daddy has made, or do you want to?
I'm gonna go 20 million.
No, it's got to be more. Is it most successful Shark Tank thing ever? It's got to be per year or total.
Total.
Total. I'm gonna go.
Oh, total.
I'm gonna go $120 million.
Yeah, total. I'll go more on Harrison scale.
All right.
Oh my god.
Give it to us. Give it to us.
It's 50 million.
What's the next most popular product?
Squatty Potty.
okay.
Squatty Potty has made 33 million.
It's such a good product.
How much of that $33 million did they spend on
Do you,
music?
do you
use it?
actively still use
My
it?
parents have one.
So, but do you use it?
It's so my girlfriend has a piece of wood in her bathroom that we wrote Squatty Potty on it, and it works quite well.
Amazing.
Is it a stool or just a piece of wood?
It's literally a piece of wood.
All right.
But not in the shape of a stool.
No, it is literally a square cube piece of wood.
All right, guys.
Okay.
I think that's it. You can find us on Facebook.com/WhoPutThisOn. You can find us on Twitter @WhoPutThisOn. You can reach us out. You can email us questions and suggestions at whoputthison@gmail.com. And we'll see you for the next 50 episodes and more.
Hit those iTunes ratings.
And yeah, you can do that all.
I don't know. We look at it sometimes.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum.
Why are you laughing?